When your coworkers say someone has an infinite capacity for revenge, that's not drama, that's survival mode. And if you've ever worked for a malignant narcissist, you know exactly what that feels like. They viewed her capacity for revenge as infinite. That's what royal correspondent Valentine Low said about Meghan Markle's ex employees. And honestly, that line tells you everything you need to know about what it feels like to work for a malignant narcissist. In this video, I'm breaking down why staffers said this and what it means for anyone who's had to survive under a boss or partner like this. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. All right, everyone. I want to go through this article that was published on August 4th in page 6. It's titled, Why Revenge-Hungry Meghan Markle Staff Stayed Silent on Duchess's Alleged Abuse. Meghan Markle's ex-staffers didn't want to be on Duchess Difficult's bad side. Valentine Low, the royal correspondent for The Times from 2008 to 2023, recently explained why Markle's former employees waited years to speak out about the alleged abuse they suffered while working under her. They viewed her capacity for revenge as infinite. The courtiers, the hidden power behind the crown, author claimed on Kinsey Schofield's Unfiltered podcast last week. He alleged that the very fragile staff members were very worried about what Meghan would do to them before anonymously coming out with their experiences in his 2022 book. They'd left the employ of the royal family and they still were in a psychologically delicate state as a result of what happened to them at the time, Lowe said. He quipped that if Markle 44 and husband Prince Harry 40 were difficult to work for then, they're difficult to work for now. This is all I wanted to show you from this article. And I would actually say they're much more difficult to work for now. And I speculate this because there's no one watching them to make sure they're not treating people poorly. Whereas when they were in the royal family, we've heard that both the Queen and I believe Catherine, Princess of Wales, had told Meghan that's not how we speak to people that are employed by the royal family. I want to point out 3 things that stood out to me from this article, and I want to close this video out with some red flags that you can watch out for in your professional lives. The fear of revenge. Valentine Low said staffers didn't speak out for years because they were afraid of Meghan's capacity for revenge. That might sound dramatic, but if you've worked for a narcissist, you know it's not. And I believe what we're talking about here with Meghan is a malignant narcissist who controls people not just through what they do in the moment, but through the threat of what they might do if you cross them. That fear becomes a leash. You don't give honest feedback because you worry they'll punish you. You don't quit without a backup plan because you're scared they'll smear your name in the industry. And even after you leave, you catch yourself looking over your shoulder, wondering if they'll sabotage your next opportunity. And here's the key. This isn't just any toxic boss behavior. The malignant narcissist is the part that makes it vengeful. They don't just want to control, they want payback. To them, disagreement is betrayal, and betrayal demands punishment. That's why staffers described her capacity for revenge as infinite. One of the other things that stood out to me was the psychological fragility after the escape. Lowe said that the staffers were psychologically delicate even after leaving. That's because working for a narcissist isn't just stressful, it erodes your sense of self. Here's what typically happens. One day, they shower you with praise and you feel on top of the world. The next day, the exact same work earns you criticism or coldness, and then they constantly flip flop, and that puts you in survival mode. Over time, you stop trusting your own judgment, you second guess everything you say. Even after you leave, your brain keeps replaying old conversations, trying to figure out where you went wrong. That lingering self doubt isn't weakness, it's the aftershock of emotional manipulation. And this pattern doesn't change. Low added, if they were difficult to work for then, they're difficult to work for now. That line is key because malignant narcissists don't change. We've heard of Megan's horrible professional behavior on set for the Reitman's ads in 2014, 2015, I believe it was, during her time as part of the royal family, and from 2020 until now. This behavior stems from entitlement and image control. They don't see themselves as the problem. To them, everyone else is either an ally or an obstacle. So, unless they're actively trying to impress someone, the difficult behavior continues and often escalates. That's why so many people burn out working for narcissistic bosses. They keep waiting for the day things will get easier, but that day never comes. If you see the pattern, the healthiest step is usually to plan your exit. Revenge isn't random for a malignant narcissist, it's a pattern. They keep a mental ledger. Every perceived slight, every betrayal, even things you thought they'd forgotten, and the more public their image, the more creative and long lasting their revenge can be. That's why staffers said they were still looking over their shoulders years later. So let's talk about some red flags that you're working for a malignant narcissist. The first is the fear of retaliation. You hesitate before giving feedback or sharing ideas because you know there will be payback, maybe in the form of gossip, exclusion from projects, or being publicly criticized. Walking on eggshells. Before you even say good morning, you're scanning their mood to figure out which version of them you're dealing with today. That's not a normal workplace dynamic. That is survival mode. And finally, lingering anxiety after leaving. If you've been gone for months but still worry they might smear you or somehow hurt your reputation, that's a sign of the deep psychological damage this dynamic leaves behind. So, whether Meghan Markle fits this description or not, her ex staffer stories line up with the classic playbook of a malignant narcissist. If you've ever worked for someone like this, please know that you're not weak. You are surviving. And the fact that you got out means you've already started the process of healing. If you've ever caught yourself replaying old conversations or worrying about retaliation months after you left, that's not weakness. That's your brain recovering from constant psychological threat. Healing starts when you realize the leash was never your fault. Usually, when we talk about Megan, we talk about her personal relationships, her marriage, and her romantic relationships. But I think it's really important to focus on what she's like as a boss. That behavior carries through every single relationship. I'm curious to know what you think about this. If you've experienced this or you are experiencing this, I'm sending big hugs to you. If you feel safe and comfortable, please share your experiences or your thoughts in the comments. I really appreciate your vulnerability. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.